you lost custody of your child. You need to go home, get her ready. They immediately contacted my parents and said she's delusional. Evil thrived in the dark, and it's not an American spirit in a way that I immigrated to. Judge Newell 100% overturned the ruling, which I'm being told never ever happens. But it was such an outrageous ruling. So at the age of 9, before going to elementary school, I had to prepare the baby formula and, do the diapers, do all of this, and then rush home from school and do that all over again. People attacking me for me sharing my story.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in, we are so glad to have you. All right, well, today we are in somewhere fabulous out in Keller. I'm loving it. Most of the time we're in studio, and every once in a while I take this back. Most of the time we are online, and today we are out and about, which is kind of fun, and these are always special to me. So we're going to open up with this today. What does it take to leave everything you've ever known, cross an ocean with nothing but courage, and build a life from scratch in a country where you barely speak the language? My guest today grew up under communism and poverty. As the oldest of 6 children, she learned early that survival required strength, but survival wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning. And so I am so excited to chat with her today. She's experienced or navigated domestic violence, to raising 8 children, to becoming a small business owner, and now stepping into the political arena. And so her journey is a masterclass in resilience, faith, and fierce advocacy. And so you guys are going to get to hear from her in just a few minutes. But before we do that, you know what we need to do. Quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine. And with that, I do want to make a mention to head on over to startergirlz.com. I tell you this every single week. And why do I say that? For 3 reasons. 1, because if you have missed an episode, it is a great place to catch up. It's also a great place to sign up for our community newsletter, and you can stay in the know of all these fabulous episodes that go out. And then also, if you are an aspiring creator, an entrepreneur, or maybe you're in the thick of it right now and you want to know what your number 1 success block is that may be hindering your success, well, guess what? I've got you covered. You can go over there and take my 2-minute quiz, and it will tell you exactly what block may be affecting your success right now. So as I always say, head on over to startergirlz.com and do your thing. All right, feel ready to bring the guest on today. I'm so excited. All right, I'm honored to introduce Zee Wilcox today, American citizen wife, mother of 3, stepmother of 5, small business owner, community advocate, and candidate for Texas House District 98. Born and raised in communist Czechoslovakia, Zee grew up in a home shaped by poverty, instability, and generational trauma. As the oldest of 6 children, she carried adult responsibilities far too early, learning resilience not as a buzzword, but as survival. At 21 years old, with little English and no safety net, she came to the United States determined to build a better life. Through perseverance, faith, and grit, she built a business, and a platform for advocacy, especially for families navigating broken systems and children with disabilities. So Zee, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be so much fun. Thanks. So before I get started, I didn't tell you this when we were sitting over, kind of in the private over there, but my grandmother was full-blooded German. So we have lots of European culture in our family. And so you and I are probably going to get along very, very well. I have lots of Russian friends and far European friends, people from the other side of the world. And so I think we're going to have a great time today. It's going to be fun. Okay, so I want to kind of open this up. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about you growing up, and you'll see all my notes here, and hopefully I'm not going to read them verbatim today. But I would love to know what shaped you most, or, during those early years, what shaped you the most, and what do you feel like how that environment, let me ask you this, how that environment influences who you are today?
Great question. To compare a lot of nowadays upbringing, obviously my upbringing was extremely different. You pretty much said everything already. I grew up in a very poor family. I think the biggest difference was my mother. You said I'm bringing generational trauma, starting with that. My mother was, she was in orphanage because of a lot of abuse and issues in her home. So her and her brother, my uncle, who's dead now, they grew up in orphanage. And I remember she told me the stories that at the age of 15, the orphanage would give them a couple hours out to go and roam around the city and come back. So they got that freedom. So my mother met her first boyfriend. They ended up having me as a consequence or from that. So she got pregnant very early. She was 16. She was barely 17 when she had me. Now, I think that is kind of where the story starts.
Yeah.
And obviously it was difficult for everyone.
Sure.
Growing up, I was afraid of my parents. I was afraid of my mother. And I'm very confused because you said you have family from Europe, even though the back European people, they didn't talk about issues.
Yeah.
Everything was very close.
Right.
So as children, we didn't understand the pain, the issues, why our parents acted the way they did, because they never talked about their pain or what was upsetting them. They kept it all inside.
Yeah.
But then it came out as anger, violence, drinking. My mother abused prescription medication. So we always thought as children, especially me, that it was our fault. And my mother, when she would get upset, she would say that everything happening in her life was my fault because if she didn't get pregnant with me, she wanted to be a doctor, she wanted to go to school, and because of the pregnancy and having me as a first child, her dreams fell apart. And she ended up having 6 children together, 2 years apart. And she was just a very, very sad, miserable, unhappy person. And growing up watching that, I didn't know what to do. I always had that guilt that it was my fault. But as an adult going through life, I tell my husband, I feel for the first time I understand her. I feel sorry for her. I think no woman should ever live the life she did, from the way she had childhood and then children. 6 children in that time with the poverty and being so young. It's it takes a lot of damage, I think, on a lot of people. And she's had that life, and the dreams that she had, she didn't have. Now, it wasn't fair to us children too,
right?
Because then I did have to step in. My mother would fall into extreme deep depressions, and she wouldn't get out of her bed for days, weeks, and she would end up having children. So she would come home with a baby in her arm and drop the baby in my arm. And my brothers were born when I was 9 years old. So at the age of 9, before going to elementary school, I had to prepare the baby formula and, do the diapers, do all of this, and then rush home from school and do that all over again. So I didn't grow up having, friends. I grew up taking care of my siblings. Now, when I say making formula, it was in days where you still had to boil baby bottles.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of the fancy bottles we had now. You had to boil them, disinfect them, and then diapers were the same. There were no disposable diapers. There was all hand wash and, hang on the line to dry them. So that was my childhood. And I grew up right in front of a cotton factory. And my parents would always tell me, just because I didn't do really well at school, because I had to take care of everyone, and the upbringing was not good. So I had these huge glasses, Coke bottle glasses, and I was always anxious. I was always a kid that anyone shouted at and I start crying.
Yeah.
I was very shy. Even public talking, believe it or not, was something that, I couldn't really do much. I stuttered a lot. So I was really quiet and shy, and just very obedient child. Friends I didn't have. And they told me the only career I was ever going to have in my life was working in that factory. And I remember the factory would release every day at 2 p.m. and these ladies would walk with these aprons and smell like cotton. And I'll never forget it. And I always looked and I dreamt that this can't be it.
Yeah.
And I had these dreams about me and making it somewhere. And back in 8th grade, they would kind of talk to you at school, trying to figure out like which way you can go or you cannot go. And when they talked to me what career I would want to have, I said, I want to be a famous person, actress, someone successful, or a dentist. They immediately contacted my parents and said, she's delusional.
Oh my goodness.
And there's something wrong with her and we need to bring her back to reality. She's just, that's just something that she shouldn't be even talking about. So that was kind of, shut down very early on. And I don't know, I felt like this couldn't be it. This was not, I always believed that there has to be something better out. And I knew that it had to be me putting myself out there. When I was 15, my parents tried to kill each other. And I remember breaking out of that fight, and I ended up in the psychiatric hospital in a full-blown, like, nervous meltdown, breakdown. And from the hospital, they said I couldn't go back into the house. That's where my parents decided they're going to get divorced as well. My mother ended up moving out of the house with 4 of us. And my father ended up with, my 2 sisters stayed with him. And we were homeless pretty much. We didn't have much to live. I had this boyfriend back then, and their parents were people that pushed me into nothing in life is easy. It's hard. And there's going to be absolutely no one helping you. You're going to have to figure it out. Because I remember going to their house and seeing how wonderful everything was in their home. And I'm like, why is this so bad with me?
Right.
And then I started feeling sorry for myself, and I was having my little pity party, and I was expecting pity party back, and I didn't get it.
Didn't get that.
Wow. I got the European, the European pity party. It was, listen, suck it up, buttercup.
That's right.
And it said, no one's going to feel sorry for you. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to work hard.
Wow.
And I was upset when I got that answer. And I always, to this day, tell this story to my kids, to a lot of young generation. It was not someone telling me, you're okay, you got it, you're the best. It was, no, you know what? You gotta work it out.
Yeah.
You have to work it because you're in charge of your life. And you can choose to go this path or this path.
Right.
So I decided to do better at school. I went to nursing school, ended up graduating with honors, then I got into medical school, and I wanted to be a journalist, but I couldn't get into journalist school because I didn't speak English. And part of the entry exam test was English, another language. So that's why I came to the United States. I took a year off thinking I'm going to learn English. So since I didn't speak English, I came here, bought a ticket. I got my visa. I worked as a radio DJ to make money through college, and came here thinking, oh, this is good. This is like Europe, In Europe, you can just get on the train, right? Old Europe. Now things change in Europe too, and backpack and use the public transportation to commute. When I came to the United States, first of all, I landed in Miami. My husband knows the story. People say, why Miami? And I don't know if you remember in 1999, the song Will Smith, Welcome to Miami.
Welcome to Miami, yep.
That was on MTV. And I was like, wow, that place
Going to Miami.
It's like, that place looks just heavenly. I'm like, this is great. People are rollerblading, enjoying the sunshine, the beach. I'm like, I'm going to Miami. And I remember it was July 5th, 1999. I landed in Miami. The first thing I remember was the humidity just got me. It was like, oh my God, it was so humid.
Yeah.
Then getting out of the airport, I was like, this is not what I saw on the videos. And so it was completely different world than what I imagined. And the story was being 21, not speaking English with a little dictionary. In Miami, most people didn't speak English either. It was Spanish.
Yeah.
So then it was like a lot of
Like, I know English and I gotta know Spanish.
So I'm like, okay, I didn't bring my Spanish dictionary. I only have this tiny English dictionary. So that was a struggle just from the language. And then I ended up traveling around the United States, mostly using the Greyhound bus.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And if you've ever done that, it's an experience on its own. To be honest with you, I don't know how I survived that because I did it across the United States a couple times at least, using Greyhound bus, not speaking English, and those are stories for another day on its own.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm listening to all of this, and first of all, I want to say something about the whole European thing because I went to an event, or I say an event, I was at a luncheon probably before the end of the year, and all of the ladies in there, most of them were, German, they were different national, and we were talking about that, how, she was saying, in Germany, we don't like to look, we don't like to smile or anything because we don't want to look like we're giddy. And I'm like, that's what that is, right? Okay, because I grew up in that. But what's so interesting is you talked about like not being able to like talk about things and express your feelings. And I think that's like a very common thing. And I don't know if that's like, is that just a European thing or not? Because that's how it was in my house too. And even now, that's something I've spent many, many years of my life working on. I'm doing a program right now where we're talking about that, like my saboteur is like the hyper rational, which means when you're hyper rational, what are you doing? You're filtering everything through a rational lens, right? There is no emotion. And so part of that training is we have to like state the emotion. So I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm sad. Like we got to talk about the emotion, because we didn't grow up doing that, right? And so it's interesting that you say that, or you brought that up. And the other thing I want to say too about your journey is that like everything, like if I had to sum this whole thing up and you said, I don't know how I got through doing that. You just have like survival skills. Like you garnered survival skills and this persistence and tenacity to like, you didn't have a choice. You had to get through it, So there's something to be said about all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I talked to my husband about it recently. I've been having like for months now these dreams from this. I grew up in this very old villa, and we put it through AI chat and try to like analyze, the dreams, because it's always, these dreams are always in the house. Really? And I'm like, is it something, at first I was like, oh, is there something magical about the house? Some magical powers that, keeps taking me to that time. And it was interesting. It says, no, it's where you learn to survive, where you learn that this is how life is. You escaped it. Now you can safely return to it because you can always, you can leave.
Yeah.
Where before it was my house, was my childhood, but it was also like my present.
Yeah, source of pain. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's a reconcile thing. You know what I mean? Like you're making peace with it kind of thing. And I love ChatGPT.
Yeah, it was like, no, give me credit.
ChatGPT. I mean, I like literally everything, like pricing cat food all the way to stuff like that.
No, I was like, hey, maybe I'm like losing it. What's going on? Like it's weird because none of the dreams are scary. Like it's not a nightmare,
right.
But they're constantly there and so vivid. Like the way everything was, the furniture. I can remember the furniture, the smell, everything. Now the house is completely ruined. No one's lived there in 20 something years, but it's just like it's still there. Like I'm stuck in that time, but it's not stressful.
Right. You're making peace with it probably. You're coming to terms with it. And that's the beautiful thing about all of this is that like you look at that stuff and you go, okay, how did like I go through that and endure that pain and all that when you can get to that other side where you are now and you're like making peace with that stuff. It's such a better feeling for sure.
Yeah, because on the top there was that part of my also childhood is one of my sisters, just to kind of go into the pain. and the understanding, even what my mother gone through. She was, again, young mother and tired and unhappy because their marriage was nothing but perfect. My father, is an alcoholic still. I have a relationship with my father, but he's an alcoholic. And back then, men would go to work. He did factory work and then clocked out, and they met in the pub. And that was as much as, parental involvement there was. My mother was, again, she was home, unhappy, obviously, with from her childhood and just having all these children and not being happily married. But so I'm the oldest, and I have another sister. My sister number 3 was 3 years old. My mother was already pregnant with my 4th sister, and she put her in their bedroom for a nap. And me and my siblings were riding a bicycle outside, and my 3-year-old sister climbed up on the windowsill, and she fell.
Oh my goodness.
It was a 2-story concrete, and I was 7 years old, and I found her smashed under the window, unconscious in blood. Now, those were times, again, forget about cell phones. We didn't have a phone line.
Right.
So there was no phone. There was no 911 to call. I called my mother. My mother, with a big old belly, pregnant, picked up, again, with my medical background, picking up someone that just fell out of the window was probably not, what you would recommend anyone doing. She picked her up, put her on the shoulder, and I remember just running down. And we lived far away from the town, and she just ran. And I remember just running after her, crying, watching my sister unconscious. I didn't know if she was dead or what happened.
Wow.
My sister ended up surviving. They had to remove, I think, 1/4 of her brain. She had subdural hemorrhage, so she had a lot of bleeding, compromised the brain. And I think that it was pretty much the final nail into my mom's story, because now I can't imagine as a mother to know that you have to wake up every day and see your child knowing that it was your fault, because it was a mistake,
right?
But it's one of those things you have to live for the rest of your life. And she didn't die. She's still living with my mother. She's unable to live on her own. So my mother is still her caregiver, but she is handicapped for the rest of her life, severely handicapped. So my mother just lived with that tremendous guilt, and it just made her even more just very difficult person to be around, to a point where I don't have a relationship with my mother right now. I do have a relationship with my father, even though all his issues, but it's so difficult for me to have a relationship with her because of she's so full of anger and all the and it changed, especially her brain chemistry, taking all these medications, all the benzodiazepines and everything she's taken to cope with anxiety and stress and PTSD and unhappiness, change who she is too.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Man, wow, you've been through a lot. Wow. What a story. But listen, this is the thing I tell people all the time, not to make light of that. All these people that come on this show, I've had so many, been doing this show since 2019. I've had so many incredible people. Everybody has a story, but I've had some that have just been so profoundly huge, and I think you hear all these similar nuanced things that come through the stories are different, but the aftermath of the resilience and the grit and the tenacity and the perseverance. So when I hear your story, it doesn't surprise me that you're doing the things that you're doing now, because there's these life skills are, like I just had this conversation the other day that sometimes it's unfortunate that people have to go through hard things. I feel like mine's nothing like yours, but I feel like I've had a lot of hard things in my life. And I feel like those are what shape us into being able to have a voice, which is what you're doing, and give us the ability to do that with like fearlessly. I don't want to use that word loosely because I think we still have fear, but I think we're able to do it. You know what I mean? You're able to do those things because you know what it means, what is hard, what is really hard. And sometimes having those hards is giving you that permission to say, I've got the voice now that I can help other people and do other things for others that maybe they couldn't do because I didn't have a voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think that's the on the flip side, again, I'm 48.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been easy. Number one, not having family support, and number two, not seeing what a healthy relationship, for example, looks like.
Right. Exactly.
Unfortunately, I was open to a lot of bad relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've gone through the very bad, unhealthy relationships, and I also learned to run away from a lot of my problems. So I feel like I've been running away a lot of issues and choosing wrong people, believing easily to trusting. And that is what led me to, unfortunately, and being in a very abusive marriage too. And when you study and read about people like me, most of us end up in these kind of situations where
you and I could have a whole conversation on this one.
We're just really conditioned to it. And then you can be smart. And I mean, I'm smart, I think. I'm educated. And people say, I just don't believe you, Zee. You're tough. You're this, and you have this persona that nothing can, take you, and you're like a unbeatable rock.
You didn't have a model. No. If you don't have a model, what's something supposed to look like? Oh my gosh, we can have a whole other conversation. We have a whole other subject matter on this one, like an episode on this. But yes, when you don't have a model, you don't know what's the right thing to do. So you have to sort of reinvent your model. You know what I mean? And that's the evolution. I think that. It's like I tell people, like, I feel like I've been on this journey for a long time. It doesn't end.
Yeah, I think once you have this sore from childhood, you have a sore, you have that, you can heal from it. The problem is that when you go with abusers or really good manipulators, narcissistic, I had to learn a lot about narcissism, and everyone's using the word narcissist now very loosely. But if you really meet the true narcissist, then you're like, okay, we gotta be careful when we use that term, because the true narcissists really, they know how to go deep. They go into the core of your pain and dismantle you. And that person did that to me, and I didn't think it was possible. I thought I ran away all my issues. I got it, take care of me. I had my children, took care of all of it. My issues were, running away from issues, not being able to stay in a relationship long enough, but he just went in, and it was just right into the core of a lot of the pain. And before I knew it, I didn't even know. I didn't know who I was.
Right.
I mean, I questioned everything. A true narcissist will go take the pain and totally throw you in that you just question everything in your life. Right. And that's where I was. At the end, he made me believe I'm a bad person. I am the worst, and I don't deserve better. And everything I worked so hard all my life to get to, just like this, dismantled. So I ended up being in this situation, and as long as I did, because I believe that that's what I deserved.
Yeah. I hear you. Wow. It's a crazy story for sure. So I want to ask you this, because I want to go back to this little, you talked about moving here, and when you came here and didn't know English, you stepped foot into Miami. Was there ever a moment when you got there and you were just like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Should I go back?
There was a lot of those moments. I mean, it was scary. It was very scary. I think because of the way my childhood was always so scary. I believe the level of where you really get scared is much higher.
Yeah.
So the threshold, a lot of people will be, I mean, when I go back to the scary times, and it's like, how did you not just get on the plane and leave? I took it so far. If it was my children, I would be like, no way, you're going back. It was very scary. And there was a lot of times where I was scared. But also it wasn't that easy to get out, because, again, there was no computers, no cell phones. The plane ticket back I had was like a paper plane ticket that was already booked for a certain time. And I didn't have access to phone. I didn't speak the language. It was almost kind of like, all right, you got to figure it out.
Right.
I was again in that position. It's like, okay, you can't just leave right now. You're like, here, figure it out, because it's not, there's no easy way out. It was not as easy. Now we just completely take for granted how easily you can just call Uber, rebook, jump on. And that was not the option back then in 1999. you know?
Well, I do have this will be to lighten it up for just a moment to come back on. I'll tell you kind of a funny story. So my middle child, she's a traveler. And so 2 years ago, she decided to go to a European stint. And so she flew into Ireland, went to the St. Patty's Day parade, and then flew into Germany. And then went all the way down and came back up through France and then back into Amsterdam. And she rode the train, of course. And we talk about luxuries now. She says to me, she's texting me because, she's on phone. She's like, I'm at the German stop and I'm trying to get help and nobody will help me here. And I can't speak German. They literally had to sit at the train station depot with their phones and translate because everything was in German.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, these people here are so brutal. They won't talk to you. You ask them questions. And so as you're telling me the story, I'm thinking, let's talk about the niceties. Because can you imagine American kids going over there? They're at this station. They're basically going down the train all the way through this. I mean, it was cheap travel. They could get a ticket and ride it. And of course, all the places they've been, they could do English. And then they get in there and they're like, there's no English on anything. And none of them, even with all the German in our family, my kids know no German, So anyway, I can imagine, I think about the niceties that we have, the things that we can do now. Because she's like literally was doing had to have her phone there the whole time to, translate. And she said it was still complicated. So
yeah, I mean, I wonder if I had that, maybe I wouldn't be here now.
Why not? Exactly.
I would just that was your question.
Can I leave? Yeah. Can I get out of here?
I'd never thought about it until you asked the question. I'm like, maybe I would not be here right now. Maybe it would be too easy for me to just leave because there were many, many, many times where I did want to just leave,
Yeah. And it probably now you look at it and you're like, okay, well, yeah, like you're saying now, if I wouldn't have been here, all of these great things that have happened in my life today would have never, you could have still been stuck in that situation and stayed in that and never. I mean, a lot of people do. They don't exit those kinds of environments. They stay in them forever. And then there's the people that have the little bit of fighter in them that pay it forward.
It was still hard here. My entire family, my siblings, everyone's in Europe.
Yeah.
And now having children too, I feel that my children were robbed of family, experience.
Yeah.
The cousins and, I see a lot of people here, they're like, oh, we're having, family birthday, we're having the, cousins, the grandparents come over, or we're going to go visit grandparents. My kids never had that.
Yeah.
Because to visit means flying all the way to Europe, it's not easy. It's not really that cheap. And now when I do fly them over there, there's a language barrier, so they do use the phone and all of it, but it's not the same. They can't just have conversation, with auntie or grandpa.
What did they say? Let me take that.
Yeah. So they don't even want to go because they're like, no one understands us. It's embarrassing. They go.
Culturally, it's different.
It is different. The way they live, they're like, oh, they live. And then crazy enough, my kids are like, oh, I don't know. It's just, there's no ice in the water. I'm like,
ice in the water.
They don't serve ice with water in restaurants or anywhere.
They don't do cold coffee. That's my daughter said the same thing when she was over there. She said they had to wait to get into Amsterdam to get iced coffee because there is no iced coffee.
They don't. There is no ice.
Isn't that interesting?
So my kid's like,
it's so funny. Both of our kids, my child.
And
first thing she said to me, they can't get iced coffee.
They can't get ice, in anything. They're like, everything is so warm. I need ice in my water and in this. So they don't want to go, these things. And, I shake my head because we drank water out of water hoses. And, if I was thirsty, I'd drink. I showed my husband the creek, out of the creek. Now, with my medical background, I was like, oh my gosh.
It didn't matter. Y'all were still doing water hoses there. We were doing them here.
I mean, just drinking from a forest creek of all the diseases I could have gotten just from that. We survived it.
That's right.
And we're at our friend's house. We were just saying, just injuries, falling off the bikes, and we didn't have helmets, but my mother's, care would be hydrogen peroxide and a toothbrush.
Hydrogen,
just brush your lawn with that toothbrush and pouring hydrogen peroxide on it. So we learned early on that when we got hurt, we didn't even say anything to the parents. Like, we're fine, because the care was different.
Yeah, that is funny. Some of the stuff that we grew up doing, or like the honey and all of that stuff, and now they're like, don't do that, some of that stuff.
Yeah, my kids make fun of me. My little one, the youngest, 9, and she's like, okay, Mama, I know you were walking to school fighting dragons. They think that, we're like exaggerating how hard it was. Like, okay, I get it.
Well, if your
It's
kids are like mine never been on a bus, so they don't even know. I'm like, I can tell you lots of stories on the school bus. My kids have never even stepped foot. Well, I just take that back. They have on field trips. But they never had to stand out in the rain to get on a school bus or any of that kind of stuff, So
yeah, we don't trust ours to cross the road to go to the neighbor's house. So that's just a street.
I know. I was telling my mom, my sister and I were having this conversation one day about these because we had three-wheelers when we were growing up, which you don't see those anymore because they're dangerous. And we would flip those things. We'd go down to the front of the neighborhood and ride. We'd put kids on them, multiple kids, and go down these hills and people would fall off the back. And so anyways, I had burned these holes in these jeans and I buried them because I never wanted my mom to see them because if she saw them, I could not ride the three-wheeler anymore.
Yeah.
So we're having this conversation one day with my mom about these jeans, and my mom's like, "That's what happened to those jeans." Like, and we were like, "We didn't want to tell you because we didn't want to be able to ride the three-wheelers." We wouldn't even let our kids on those things now. We're like, we're not touching the three-wheelers, and if you are, you're gonna have bubble wrap and helmets and all the things. We would be like, "Go get Dad. The three-wheeler's hanging on the side, and we're trying to hold it from flipping down the hill." And
no, it's sad because ours don't even know how to ride a bicycle. And it's sad and funny because they don't.
Yeah.
We rode bikes. I remember having this metal, like iron base bicycle, heavy, of course.
Sure.
It was called Pioneer. It was green, and the brake was breaking back with the pedals.
Yes, you got to hit the, mine was hit the ditch. You just go to the ditch, do the back. Mom and Dad's like, "You ever going to stop hitting the ditch?"
Yeah. No helmets, no nothing. You fell. It was all, gravel, black gravel. Remember? You fell, that thing, heavy bike would go right on top of you. And
if you didn't need to have any life skills, you just ride a bicycle. You could have learned everything in life. Just ride a bicycle on that cement, right?
And, and it was, again, having medical background, like we have stronger bones, I think, because we learned to just fall and take the hit. Kids nowadays, I work in the ER briefly, and I remember these children just coming in with breaking everything.
Yeah.
They're like jumped the wrong way and they have, they break their leg, they break their arm, and I think it's because these poor children now, they don't do.
Yeah, they're just probably not as, we didn't have all the things that they had. So we were forced to have to be outside and make entertainment and, and now you don't have to. Yeah, because so much entertainment. There is so much.
I know. I did inline skate marathon and I wiped out badly and they did like X-ray and they're like, you've had like a bunch of broken bones and, and they're like, "When was that from?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then I'm like, "I probably broken the bones. I don't know, cracked them." But we never, my parents wouldn't take us to, there was no ERs. They wouldn't take us to anything.
You just sucked it up.
Suck it up. You're good.
Interesting. All right. So now let's talk about your political arena here. So you're running for Texas House District 98. So I'd love to know, and I kind of feel like I kind of know the answer, but I want you to say this, like what compelled you to go into that role and take on this, because that's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And me and my husband, we talked about it for a long time, and I put my name in the race literally the last day. December 8th was the last day to sign. And the other two opponents I'm running against, they've been campaigning since August.
So you just jumped in.
They jumped in
oh, wow.
because unfortunately, escaping the domestic violence relationship, most people don't realize that leaving is hard. Mm-hmm. But there is something that is far too common, and it's continued abuse. And, the abuse doesn't stop when you leave. And I learned that the hard way. Because I left, and I was lucky enough to move on and found happiness. That, of course, was was not working for the ex. I divorced him. I giving him everything. It was outside of family courts. I said, "What do you want? Take it. You want everything in the house. You want the money. Take everything. I don't want to go through the divorce courts. I didn't want to drive my children through it. I didn't want to go for years fighting over little things. So just take it. I just want to have peace." So he did. He agreed to everything, took everything. We got divorced outside of courts. But unfortunately, literally a month later, he started filing motions in courts. And at that time, I was a little naive thinking, he can keep filing away. He's got nothing. It's a bunch of lies. I said, the judicial system should be strong enough. I have rights.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking I have rights. Well, in the first year after we got divorced, he filed 7 motions. And I ended up, one of them was what they call it, the silver bullet, the TRO, the restraining orders, 2 days before Christmas. I was a school teacher, I was working, getting ready for a Christmas break. My attorney calls me, she says, hey, he filed this TRO. I didn't even know what it was. And she sent it to me, and it was so upsetting because it was like 3 pages of just horrendous lies. He was saying that, and again, I was a working single mother at that point, working as a teacher. I was drinking all night long, partying, leaving the children at home. I'm like, that's not true. I go to bed at 8 p.m. I'm tired, too old, too tired. Oh, partying all night, abusing my children, don't feed them. I mean, it was just a list of just false nonsense. Again, 2 days before Christmas, I'm like, it's all lies. I still didn't think that anything was going to happen, right? I'm like, it's just a bunch of lies.
Right.
I told my attorney, we got this. We wrote the response to it. My attorney said, hey, listen, this guy is an abuser with 20-year history of domestic violence, not only against, her, me, but also other women. So we submitted and told the court he's had at least 5 different restraining orders from multiple women, not just me, before me. He's been arrested for domestic violence, not just with me, but with other women, even pleading guilty to domestic violence. So the history, is well documented. It's not that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, no, he did this and I have no proof of it. There's been then it was 17 years of documented history. Again, not thinking anything's going to happen. I go to family court hearing for this TRO, still thinking I got this. I got in front of an associate judge here in Tarrant County. Her name is Kate Stone. It was a Monday morning at 9 a.m. She comes into the courtroom. She was dressed in, it looked like pajama, like a apron, or I don't know, like something short. She had some essential oils like steaming on the bench, and she looked visibly like she's hungover, like she partied all weekend. She looked about my age.
Yeah.
Good-looking woman.
Yeah.
Right. And but just didn't look like she was pleasant or in a good mood. Because it was my ex's motion, he got to go on the bench under oath first, and his attorney went in, and he just kept going with these lies, and I'm just sitting there listening to these lies, and as you can see, I have facial expressions, and I was just in a shock.
Yeah.
And she kept telling me, stop your face, stop moving your face is making me sick. And then she literally said, I feel like slapping your face, like a judge. So the more she kept saying these things, the more
listening to this,
the more I was shocked. Because I couldn't believe that I am being treated like this in a court by a judge. And then when he got like 45 minutes on the stand just blabbering lies, I'm like, I still got it because I'm going to have my turn. And then, I'll be able to say my side of the story. I got on the bench, got sworn in. The only thing I was able to get in was my name and where I worked. And then she says, you know what, get off. And she got me off the bench and made me sit next to the attorney, who at that point was in a complete shock and froze because it was so insane. This lady that has been practicing for 40 plus years as a family law attorney froze. And I felt sorry for her. She was just shaking there, stood there, and she couldn't get a word out because it was that shocking. So Judge Stone pretty much said, I'm a liar. To me.
She didn't listen to you. She just shut it down.
No, not at all. Shut it down. I want to slap your face, get out. So we leave. And in that courtroom, it was just me, my attorney, and him and his attorney. No court reporter, no one else in the galley. So she didn't rule that day. I was still thinking, maybe she was in bad mood. Maybe she'll read the stuff that we submitted. 10 days later, again, I was driving from work, and I used to work in DeSoto, which is down in downtown Dallas. And I drove home, and my attorney calls me. She says, "You need to call me. The ruling came." She said, "You lost custody of your child." She said, you need to go home, get her ready. She needs to go. And you have only, she ordered supervised visits only. You have no access to her. I don't even know how I survived the days. It's such a blur, such a shock. I thought surviving everything I did, leaving, was really hard. To let, and she was 7, to let my 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Of course he laughed. He was excited. He was just bragging. And finally he did it to me. I was punished finally for leaving. The attorney couldn't believe it. Everyone was shocked. And I'm like, okay, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. So she says, don't worry, there's still one step you can take. You can pretty much do what's called de novo. It's like appeal, because she's an associate judge. You can take your case in front of her boss, which is the district judge, which was Judge Newell. So we filed the de novo. It was scheduled, I think, 3 weeks later. 3 weeks were just hell.
Yeah.
Just hell. I refused to have supervised visits. I said, I am not a criminal. My child, I don't want to put my child through putting her in some courtroom place with someone sitting there just traumatizing her through that system even more.
Right.
For her to think that I am a criminal. And no child needs to be going through that.
Right.
So then I hired a different attorney, younger attorney, and $10,000 worth of another fees. We did de novo. I was told that because she's an associate judge and he is pretty much the one that picked her, they usually rarely go against the associate judge's ruling. And if they do, the pendulum usually goes in the middle. He'll find some compromise between what the order was and what she ordered, which swung completely the other way. He says, maybe somewhere in the middle, expect that. That time I was able to tell my story, and Judge Newell 100% overturned the ruling, which I'm being told never, ever happens. But it was such a outrageous ruling, what she did to me, that he had to go. But I also was prepared that time. I made sure I brought people with me into the court, because I learned there was no witnesses the first time. And we had court reporter. I brought people. They were praying. They were there, my friends, support families. And I think because the judge had audience that time, and the evidence was so obvious, he did overturn, and I ended up getting my daughter right away back. It shaped me to a point where I couldn't believe our system is this broken. Because I had the $10,000 to fight back. And I can only imagine, and I know a lot of mothers, a lot of parents that don't have that money. And that's how easily they can lose their children on the spot. So then I'm like, the system's flawed. I started asking questions. And I have a medical background. I don't have a legal background. I'm like, how is this possible in the United States of America? How can someone without any evidence just take your child away? Like, I can't just take your car. We can't take children away without any evidence. You're not being, I was not convicted of any crime. Not as much as speeding ticket. My credit score is 830. Never been accused of any negligence.
Yeah.
Mother helping children, eating organic food, making my products, all of it. And all of a sudden, someone like this can remove my child and put her in a dangerous situation to a known abuser on the top of it. And then I started asking questions, and more people, I became extremely vocal about what was going on with me right at the beginning, against my attorney's advice. They're like, no, just don't say anything. You will be retaliated against.
Not, yeah.
And I'm like, no, we can't do this.
Right.
So I was open about it. Then I filed a complaint with the SCJC, which is the Commission on Judicial Misconduct, after I won the de novo, again, against my attorney's advice. They're like, don't do it because you're still going to have to go in front of this judge. I still filed because I thought it was the right thing to do. Now, the Judicial Committee did absolutely nothing. They took their 1.5 years to investigate. And then they said, even though her behavior is not okay, it's not enough to discipline her. Right? That took 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Followed by, since that I won that, my ex then filed contempt charges hearing against me to jail me then for 2.5 years in the same court. And then again, and this time I was like, there's no way he can jail me, but I had to go back in front of the same judge that took my child away. So I was getting prepared with my husband to be sent to jail. We had plans, plan BC, like what do we do if this woman believes him again, which she would, because now I complained against her. She was notified about it, that I sent a complaint. She was overturned 100% in de novo. Now she really had it against me. And people are like, don't worry, if she jails you, we're going to file this, motions and we're going to get you out. But I'm like, but I'm going to be still put to jail. I'm going to be arrested. It sounds, they'll get me out, but she's going to arrest me.
You're still going to go, you still got to go through that.
And these judges can't do that because it's they're just judicial, what do you call it? It's their judicial power opinion. They can do this without applying any laws. So long story short, again, I spent another $10,000 or $20,000 removing this judge out of my case. And she did not want to recuse herself voluntarily. So then we had the administrative judge removing her from my case. 6 months, again, another $20,000 of legal fees to have her removed from my case. She ended up being removed. And now I have a retired judge on my case. Contempt hearing was heard. I won. I didn't get jailed. But so again, I know it was a long answer why I'm running and doing what I'm doing, because I learned going through this nightmare, I contacted our senator, Texas senator here, the SD9. It was in Senator Hancock office. I did contact the Giovanni's office. I contacted governor's office, FBI. I contacted all the news stations, every single news stations possible. Contact says, look what is going on. Our rights are being violated. We are being violated. Our rights are non-existing in these courts. Children are suffering. They're draining us. Like at that point, $80,000 of all my children's college saving gone like this.
Because the kids end up being the ones that are paying for all of this, yes.
And just damaging, contacted everyone. No one come back to me. No one. Some governmental offices came back. Sorry, we don't deal with stuff like that. No one was going to help. So when I look at our candidates, campaign political candidates now, I'm like, none of them
are addressing these
will
issues,
address this, will ever address this. They don't care about it.
Right, because it doesn't affect them.
No, and it's not something they want to deal with. Plus, judicial accountability doesn't sit well with a lot of judges.
Sure.
And all these judges and these political candidates, they walk in the same tight circles. They do. I know that because now running for politics, I go into these forums and it's all the same ones, and they shake hands and they hug and they vacation together and drink together and they pass on these positions down. And they were attorneys, family law attorneys, and now they're judges, running for judges. So accountability is something they don't want, that's for sure. So I said, in order for me to fix this, I have to join it.
You have the voice.
I'm going to have to go in and become part of it.
Sure.
So then I can have committees and address this and give people voice to go to these committees and talk about the crime that is being done to them, to be able to protect these children and fix this system. And people say, how do you want to fix it? And I go into these forums. If you go to any of them, I tell these judges right in their face, I'm like, I want to put cameras in all of your courts. Just like we have cameras, body cameras on police.
Yeah.
Bring light.
Yeah.
Shine light in the problem. Because from the experience I've gone, there's a totally different system when people are watching.
No one that's happening.
And a very, very different one when no one is watching.
Right.
So obviously, shining light at least is a good start to make sure that people have a proof, people can watch how these judges are acting. Because let's be honest, when you go vote, do you know who these judges are?
No.
I never paid attention to judicial candidates.
No.
I went and I just voted down the line, party line, and that's it. I didn't know who they were. A lot of them keep getting reelected without any opposition, so they just stay in these positions over and over.
If it should just go down.
They just go down the list.
Yeah.
You don't ask. And a majority of us, that's how we deal with it. We don't ask questions until you have to go in front of these people and you learn how much power they have.
Well, until you already had to experience it. And that's why you're saying when you're talking about the other people, not because it's not important to them, because they're not, the minute they have to experience a situation, then they're aware of something new and it becomes real and personal. And so, wow.
But when we look at it, the divorces are about 70%, unfortunately now. And with the no-fault divorces, it's so much easier. Everyone's getting divorced. Mm-hmm. And if you go to Tarrant County Family Court, have you been there? Mm-mm. Have you seen it? No. It's a huge building.
Yeah. Okay.
Big building. So when people say, well, is family law issue a big issue? There's a huge building.
There's a lot going on.
There's all, and any time and any day of the week you go there, it's packed.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't talk about it because they're scared talking about it, because they're getting the same advice I was being told: stay quiet, because you will be retaliated against if you open your mouth. So there is this gag order on a lot of people going through these court systems. Yeah. And but the damage with the CPS, and it's a huge money-making machine. I mean, evaluations and therapists and custody evaluation. Like we had custody evaluation. It's $7,000. The lady did not care. I went to her first appointment, and she literally had her feet up on her table and chatting with her husband. And as I'm talking about issues that are really important to me, she's like, "I'm sorry, I ordered this, cheese board, and then we have this event," and I'm like, I just paid $7,000. And then I'm like, great, you're in charge of where my child's going to be. Now, when you say, I'm not going to do custody evaluation, I don't need custody evaluation, I know what kind of parent I am, there's no proof that I'm not a good parent, then you are in the contempt with the court order. So these judges and these courts just order you these evaluations and therapies, and they don't care how the people will pay for them. So it's not that the court will tell you, oh, you need this therapist and this evaluation, it's going to cost you $10,000. You're like, I don't have $10,000. That's on the top of your attorney fees and an end. You're like, I don't have $10,000. The judge will tell you, you better figure it out, because you're going to be in contempt with this court order, and then I will jail you.
Right. And can't meet the requirements. Yeah.
And it's the only court where you're forced into financial business deals, really,
without consent, really.
Without agreeing to it.
Yeah.
When I was saying, hey, I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't. They do not care. I tell people the big difference in, for example, criminal cases, if you can't afford an attorney, it will be provided to you.
Right.
But they're like, well, Zee, but you can lose your liberty and freedom. But so can you in family courts. But the attorney, you will not be assigned a free attorney. Everything you do, people spend 100, 200 and more thousands of dollars in these courts. And I wish I could say I'm one of few. It's actually a really, really big issue. And now we talk about, okay, is it really a big issue? It is, because we have children that we talked about early on, generational trauma. This is generational trauma.
Right.
These children are not okay.
No.
My own child ended up in a psychiatric ER with suicidal thoughts. She was 7 years old, telling us she wants to die
Yeah.
at 7
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah.
because
Right.
she didn't want to go to him and be put through all what he's capable of putting her through. 7 years old. I had to take her to a psychiatric ER down in Fort Worth with suicidal ideations. And again, I am sharing my story and I have videos because someone needs to share the story. A lot of people are, again, too afraid. It's too uncomfortable to do that. And it is, because the videos I put out, people literally tell me, Zee, I couldn't finish watching it. And I said, this is the easy part. This is what is somewhat social media acceptable. That is not the ugly stuff, really. And people can't watch it.
Yeah.
And I said, imagine people living that. So again, going into the political race, I'm not a politician. And I knew it was going to be difficult. And I'm not backed by big money. And no PACs care about these issues. So it's $2,000 campaign. The other two guys that are running, one is an attorney, one is an accountant. And they have $1 million and $700,000 worth of campaign finances.
Right.
So then you're really saying, are we the people really being represented for the issues that we're facing every day? And we're not. These people are being selected and bought, and it looks like a perfectly nice freedom and free system, but it's all a lie.
Wow. I knew I'm pouring in so much more I want to talk to you about. We're going to have more conversation after this. Oh my gosh, what a story, Zee. I'm listening to this and I'm there's a part of this that your story is like so hard, but there's a part of your spirit that resonates with me, and it's like, gosh, it's like there's so much there. I want to talk to you some more, but we try to keep moving. This is hard. But I do want to say something. I do want to commend you, because I do think you're doing this for the right reason. And I think there's a lot to be said about that, because I do think a lot of people, and it's not just about this, it's a lot of things. People step into things for the wrong reasons. And I'm always for the underdog, and I'm always for the fighter. So I want to commend you on that. So we're going to talk some more. But I do want to ask you, because I feel like in all of this, there's been so much talk. You've rebuilt your life, golly, from the ground up. And I want to turn this inward, and I want to hear you, like, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself in all of this? Like, what have you taken away from all of this?
That it's all worth fighting for. Again, so many times from even coming here, like you asked, how you could have left. There's a lot of things that you faced in life where you could just easily quit.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, there've been many, many times where I was at the end road and didn't think it was worth fighting for. And then I realized, okay, I have children. And then
You're doing it for the bigger.
I've been in dark spots and places where I felt, it's just life. Is this life really that I didn't want to live anymore? I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
And then I'm like, I can't do that, because again, I am it for my children. So every time I got into that, I learned that nope, there is an easy way, but you're gonna have to keep fighting. And I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, especially going through the abuse. Like I said, there was a lot of self-doubt that I had about me. and guilt, a lot of guilt, that I learned that I have to give myself grace and be proud for what I've done. And it's something that I never was able to say because it, to me, sounded selfish.
Right.
Like anytime someone say, I'm so proud of myself, I always thought it was a selfish thing to say.
Weird, funny, yeah.
For the first time in 48 years, I can say I'm proud.
It should be.
For what I've done. And now it took me a long time to get to that.
Yeah. So the next question I would say to you, what would you tell a 21-year-old Zee? What would you tell that 21-year-old Zee that stepped off the plane in Miami with her dictionary? What would you say to her? Buckle up.
I think at the age of 20, none of us listened.
Right.
So
It's true.
I say, as you know, my son's 20, my daughter's 18, and I tell them a lot of stories, a lot of the things. So it's, I have that age group, and we don't listen. We think that we have the answers to everything at that age. I think it would be listen, pay attention, slow down, and before you make a decision, ask questions, because I jump into things way too quickly. And I think it would be like, slow down, ask questions.
You might not have had all the life experience, though, had you not jumped into some of those
There were a
things.
few things I wish I didn't have to go through.
You have to have some of those moments, right? You wouldn't be doing what you're doing, And I think that that's the beautiful thing in all of this. I don't even use the word mess because I hate that, because I think it's a beautiful mess. You know what I mean? Like, you had to have it for you in order for you to step into the space. You may not have the voice, and you may not have had the courage, and to do the things. And I've always said this. I've told somebody, because that's what I said. I want to talk to you some more after this, because I have so many crazy stories too. But I was telling somebody one day, I said, sometimes I think that the man upstairs just thinks that he needs to keep piling stuff on me because he knows I have a mouth, and he knows I'm a fighter, and he knows that I will say something. And so he just keeps giving me things. I don't want them, but they keep popping up. And some of them I can't talk about in the moment because I have to wait till they're cleared out. And then I had somebody come in one day and said, but sometimes there's beauty in talking about it while you're in it. And I'm like, but that's the part of me that's like, I don't want, it's got to be, we talk after it's cleaned up, And so I think there is sometimes that silver lining in that mess that you have. It's not when you're in it, it's awful, it sucks, it's terrible, you don't want it, you don't wish it on anybody, but it helps you step into a new space. And
I think the hardest part I'm having, and thank you for having this conversation, because again, coming from a society where we don't really talk about problems, but people still live close to each other
and don't talk.
They may don't talk, but they're there, right? And I think there is not talking and not having someone there is even worse. But I feel with social media and all these cell phones, and we are turning into society that really wants to just turn away.
Yeah.
We've lost the community. We've lost the offering, the helping hand. Everyone's critical. I mean, just stepping into this race, you'd be surprised. I didn't even expect that kind of low treatment from people attacking me for me sharing my story, for trying to make difference and give the people voice that don't have voice.
Right.
Oh, she's just playing a victim. She's using her victim card, and just
you don't strike me as a victim type of person.
Condescending, it gives you a pause. It's like, we need to talk about this, because there are so many people, and let's be honest, a lot of abuse happens to women.
Sure.
And going through the journey of living that, I asked, it's not that I wasn't open about what was going on to me. I had a lot of people turn their back on me because it was uncomfortable.
Right.
And people don't want to deal with uncomfortable. So even when I reached out for help, a lot of people turned their back, which I think, from talking to older Americans, that is not the American way.
Yeah.
We didn't turn our back on people that needed help. And from my own personal experience and talking to a lot of survivors and victims, and they say, and it's true because I believe that it's an extremely lonely journey, and it's something that I hope to change by speaking out, and I daily have in my social media messages, don't turn the other way, because again, we need to keep shining light on the issue because this rotten evil thrives in the dark. And it's not an American spirit in a way that I immigrated to. I always believe Americans were go get them and stand up against the wrong and extremely giving and helping people. And something changed, and I hope we get some empathetic sides of us again out and help the people that need to be helped, because it's the evil is taking over.
Yeah. So I got a couple more things I want to ask. And around this house, you are also a business owner aside from this. And so real quick, maybe share a little bit about what you've got going on for our listeners that are listening in. Sedena?
So I have a medical background. I taught chemistry, and my firstborn son it was 28. I remember reading in this mother's magazine that was back then, again, it was before internet, about autism. And I never forget, I was pregnant. I was like, wow, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
Right? And then a lot of people in my neighborhood had children with autism. And I was like, I hope that doesn't happen to me. My son was born, and it was issues from day one. Then it was in Florida. He went through the testing. Florida offered this free testing for autism. My son, autistic. He was 2 years old. It was a devastating news to me as, my firstborn. I'm like, great. So what did I do wrong? And then, of course, it comes to you start blaming yourself. You did something wrong. And I took him to therapists and therapies, and it was just miserable. Nothing was helping. And then I finally said, there has to be a reason why there are so many children with autism. And it can't be just some kids are born like this. And when I was pregnant, I was eating a lot of grapes. And people say, well, that's healthy. I thought it was healthy. Yeah. Then I find out that grapes are heavily pesticide sprayed. And the pesticides are in the skin of the grape. And I ate tons of it. So I decided to take over his treatment and his life. And I started cutting out and eliminating all chemicals in our household.
Okay.
No artificial colors. That was now people are talking about it. That was back then. It was really difficult to find something without it. No artificial colors. Change mattresses. Got organic mattress because babies sleeping on these chemical full, mattresses, bad for them. And work with my son. He is a very functioning, successful young man now. Something that I was told was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I find out that a lot of the stuff that we use at home, cleaning products on our body, the skin products, when you look at the ingredients, you see this big paragraph of just chemicals. And we all know skin is the largest organ. So whatever you put on your skin, you eat.
Yeah.
So I started making my own products and for my family. And then I had people asking me, oh, I would like this, I would like that. So then I opened it into a business, mostly to be able to at least write it off.
And then fund your goods, right?
And that's how I opened my business. And now I ship pretty much all over the United States. And there's a lot of options out there now. And I'm happy for that. When I started, a lot of it was relatively new. Now there is more options, which makes me only happier because we are more conscious about the chemicals and what we're eating and putting on our body. So that's how my business started. That's how my cosmetic line started.
Yeah, it's interesting how they developed. So I know back when my daughter we were doing gluten-free, and that was back in golly, she's 29, so she was 16. And back then, people weren't really talking about that. And we would go to a restaurant and be like, we're doing gluten-free, and they'd bring the croutons on the salad. And we're like, okay, you don't know what the gluten-free means, right? But you're right. It's funny. I just saw something the other day, Robert F. Kennedy, something with taking the mercury out of vaccines.
Right.
And I follow all that stuff too. And so you and I, that's what you and I are going to have a big talk after this. Lots of good stuff to talk about. So yeah, it's so interesting. And thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to have you in just a minute tell us where everybody can find you, websites and all that. But I have a couple lighthearted questions I want to have you. Totally different from what we're doing here, because I think this will be fun to end it out. I think what a story. I want to thank you for it, because what a story. Powerful. I don't even know how long we've been in here. I have a feeling we could be here for a long time. There's so much here. So with 8 kids in the household, I'm impressed with that too. You guys are like, I'm not kidding. Like, you got it going on here. So what's maybe a fun, chaotic moment with the family? Something you can remember maybe recently. I'm sure it's like this all the time, but something that you can laugh about now and be like, it was chaotic then, we can laugh about it now. Gosh. Anything that comes to mind?
So our family is blended family, right?
Yep.
So as you can imagine, stepping into 5 other children as a stepmom, I can talk for another few hours of
the dynamics,
chaos and dynamics of that. And my children, accepting my husband is hard and chaotic. It all could have really been. I have to honestly say, it's been relatively easy.
It's funny.
And there have been few things that could have easily gone really chaotic or ugly. Yeah. But me and my husband from the beginning said, okay, here are rules when it comes to these children. We, number one, agreed that we come first.
Yeah, as should be.
Because a lot of people was like, oh, this is my kids, your kids. And then it becomes, ooh. And then the kids will feed on it, of course. And it becomes a drama between the parents. I'm like, in order for this to work, we have to understand we come first.
Yeah.
So there is no insulting or bringing drama or chaos from your side or my side. Got to cut it off. And we stuck to it. And it's been, pretty good. I think one thing that I'm having a really hard time a little bit still somewhat admitting that I'm a grandma.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's not from my biological children. It's my husband's children. They have two grandchildren, grandkids. So I'm still trying to figure out how to be called.
But what's the name supposed to be?
Yeah,
right?
what is supposed to be the name for me? Because grandma is, I'm like, no.
Yeah, my sister, I have one younger sister, so she's 5 years younger than me. And so she's a grandmother for the first time. And it's so weird because I was the first, like always the first. And she's like, I'm going to be a grandma before you. And it's like, what are you going to be called? The baby is so cute, though. Cutest little baby ever. But I think they finally got their whole little name thing figured out.
Yeah, so. They didn't figure out yet, but my husband is using like babushka.
You need to be like
the Russian for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like some kind of like warrior princess grandma or something. We need some fun some fun title with that.
We're still working on it. Still can't figure it out.
Keep us posted on that one. So, all right, and if you weren't in doing what you were doing now, what would be something you would secretly love to try? Something you've never done, like a hobby or maybe a career outside of your smart stuff?
Gosh, you do have some tough questions.
You're too smart, see?
I think if I didn't do all of this, I didn't go through all of the courts, genuinely, I always wanted to just sell everything and downgrade into some small house with garden and as far away as possible away from, I don't know, people
like
and
animals
just
and stuff.
Yeah, just grow my own stuff and dig in the garden and just.
I can see it.
I think that would be something that I would secretly still want to do, and then I wake up, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen for a while in my life. In this, so since I'm still in it, I'm just gonna keep pushing the way I am. But if it wasn't for that and this, that would be definitely selling everything, scaling down, and just try to live with Mother Earth A little bit
This
more.
will be an easy two easy questions for you. Okay, what kind of music do you like? What's on the radio?
Gosh, you know, I'm stuck in the 90s.
That's what me in the 80s. Yeah.
I'm like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So I'm still Michael Jackson kind of fan.
It's a good era of music.
Yeah, it was the early Madonna, all of the
I
stuff.
think I heard Madonna. I was listening to Madonna today.
Yeah.
My Spotify list is crazy though, because I mean, literally, it could go from 80s to rock to Enya to country. I mean, it will move because I have like all my my little eras of things, and so
Yeah, I used to listen to a lot more music, and like everyone like constantly something in my ears, and when I'm cleaning, listening, and then going through this madness I've gone through. To be honest with you, I learned one thing is unplug.
yeah.
So
Sometimes you just need that quiet.
the only time I listen to music or anything is when I work out. I need something to get me through the workout. But now I just don't listen too much of anything. Podcast.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts, but I just try to be in my own head as much as possible without even the music disruption.
It's good. All right, one last question. Favorite place to travel? Anywhere in particular you want to go, or that you've been, that you enjoyed?
Again, I'm a nature person, so I like to go up in the mountains and hike. That's been my therapy in life. Unfortunately, moving to Texas, there's not much hiking to do.
Yeah, I don't know why.
There's not much, a lot of mountains. So we moved here. I moved here with the children from Arizona. So I did a lot of hiking there. At least here, it's just not much. So if I could, I would love to go somewhere in the mountains and hike. Just love hiking.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, Zee, this has been incredible. Thank you for sharing. I know that this was a lot of difficult conversation for you. I'm sure you're used to sharing a lot of this, but I know it's not ever easy to kind of repeat those stories and stuff. So thank you for sharing that, being vulnerable and open. And hopefully our audience will hear this and take something away. Whether it's somebody that's in a position where they need to, they're battling something or stepping into something, or the right person just getting that information they need. So.
I think if nothing, my message to people, and I know people are tired of politics. I hate politics too. But from the bottom of my heart, when I see there's 15% of people voting, and then, like I said, we have all of this mess, and it's only getting worse, we have to, again, not look the other way and educate ourselves and go vote, because the future of our children is really in hands.
I agree with you. Yeah. So thank you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to share your website for the political side of things, where do people find you there? And then also your business side, because you got two things going on. You're like me, 100 different things going on. I should say 100. You've got two main things happening here. You're a busy mom, but so they know where to find you on those two places. So share those websites with us.
So the political is ZEE4FORHD98.com. And my business is theintentionalstore.com.
Okay.
Theintentionalstore.com.
Okay. We'll make sure too that when we get these in the show notes, and so when they go through them, they'll have all the actual links in there so they can find them.
Thank you.
So thank you. You're amazing. I do want to talk to you some more when we get done here. but I do want to say to our audience, because I know everybody's got things to do. We appreciate you. We hope that you found this episode both inspiring, informative, and of course, please reach out to Zee if you need any information, or if you can support her or whatever. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. So remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and you guys be kind to yourselves and to one another. We'll see you next time.